What's up, guys? Welcome into Packers Total Access breaking news edition as the Packers stay hot in free agency with another big signing here, going out and getting a veteran defensive lineman. I'm really excited about this signing. This is one that Easton Butler was all over. He was hinting at it all along. Yes, they've been in talks. They've been calling the Philadelphia Eagles about Jalen Carter. Hey, is he available? Is he not available? What would it take? Sounds like the Eagles don't want to come off of him. Per Adam Schefter, I guess you could say. And this is the one that I think Easton Butler was hinting at all along, is the Packers have signed Javon Hargrave, who was with the Minnesota Vikings last year. It's funny. Some fans say, he's with the Vikings. Is he any good? I thought the Vikings defense was great, right? This is a guy that helped anchor that defensive line. This is a guy that has familiarity with Jonathan Gannon, if I remember correctly. He's been to Philly. He's a guy who's been an elite pass rusher in the past. He had double-digit sacks one year. I think this is a big pickup. Now, people will say, if you're going to be negative, it's going to be he's 33 years old. He's too old. Isn't it funny? We went into this offseason. And if you guys watch this show any significant amount of time, you know we've been screaming all offseason, you've got to get older. You've got to add veteran presence. You can't continue to go into the playoffs and expecting young guys, the youngest roster in the league, to just rise to the occasion when they've never been on that stage before. And what has Goody done this year? He's gone out and added veteran after veteran after veteran, right? And I think he's going to continue to do that on down the stretch if he can continue to find deals. I love the way this is shaking up. I think there is very little chance the Packers are going to be the youngest roster in the league this year. I don't think they're going to be near the top as the oldest as well, probably middle of the pack, maybe somewhere in the 10 range. Again, if you think that's something that's not important, we can agree to disagree. That's totally cool. But I'm so sick of getting into high pressure situations in the playoffs and us falling flat and all of us kind of acting surprised. Well, what happened? Why couldn't they rise to the occasion? Why did we make those stupid mistakes? How did we give up 25 fourth quarter points against the Bears in the biggest game of the season? It's because you're going out there with the youngest roster in the league. Now, the Packer gatekeeper out there, you probably know who I'm talking about. He had his little smart-ass snide comments every time we mentioned it. He popped up in the Twitter mentions and this and that. Now that Goody has agreed with us, I think we would all agree, Goody is pressing in on the aging veterans. Let's add some veteran help to this roster. I wonder if now finally he'll get on board. And he'll probably go on a drunken rant and pretend like, this was the idea all along. This is the way to put together a great team. Cracks me up. Cracks me absolutely up. I appreciate everybody jumping in here. If you would, hit that like button for us. Hit subscribe. Click the bell icon on this breaking news edition as the Packers have signed Javon Hargrave. I know we got some super chats. You guys get them in. I promise we will hit them all after we get through the information. Let's get right into it. Adam Schefter had tweeted out, from Minnesota to Green Bay, former Vikings defensive tackle Javon Hargrave reached an agreement today on a 2-year deal for $23 million, including $13 million this year with the Packers per Drew Rosenhaus. Notice it didn't say guaranteed money. It just said $13 million this year. My guess is this is a 2-year deal that's really a one. So him being 33 years old, no big deal, right? You can move on after 1 year. I just about guarantee you that's how the deal is structured. So this is you plug and play a veteran presence at the defensive tackle position. You basically traded Colby Wooden for Zaire Franklin and Javon Hargrave is how I'm looking at this, right? So, we had somebody ask us, a viewer asked us last night, do you feel like the team got better or worse this free agency? As of the moment, we tallied it all up, and I said, I think you'd have to say worse, but there's a lot of free agency left, right? There's a lot of moves to be made. There's still trades that could happen. We were hearing rumors about Jalen Carter potentially or some of these other guys. And now when you tally this up, you go, okay, you went from Colby Wooden to Javon Hargrave, all right? You get to keep Devonte Wyatt as well, by the way. So those are your two interior defensive tackles, all right? So you got that short up. You basically traded Quay Walker essentially for Zaire Franklin is really what that comes down. Let's just compare apples to apples. Zaire Franklin, a slight upgrade over Quay Walker, in my opinion, if you get the normal Zaire Franklin. But now, again, you improve from Colby Wooden to Javon Hargrave. You also added St. Juice into the cornerback room. We talked about he was the 11th highest graded cornerback last year, over 300 snaps, not a whole lot of snaps, but still graded out really well. Seems to be playing his best football last year with the Chargers. So now you've improved your cornerback room. Guys, we're starting to see improvements now across the board. You lose Rashan Gary. LVN is going to step right in there. He had a 15% run stop rate as well, so he's right there on par with Gary's run defense. He was slightly worse in terms of quarterback pressure percentage last year, so that's another situation where it's like, okay, that kind of feels like it's par for the course, kind of a push between LVN and Rashan Gary. Now, can LVN take that next step? You signed Brenton Cox Jr. earlier today. We talked about that, right? That's another guy, over 14% quarterback pressure percentage, only 80 snaps. Well, we've seen he can get after the quarterback. You're starting to feel really good about what Jonathan Gannon, Matt LaFleur, and Brian Gutekunst is putting together here. Feeling a lot better about free agency as we get a little deeper into the offseason. Tom Silverstein tweeted out, Hargrave had signed a 2-year, $30 million free agent contract with the Vikings in 2025. They cut him after one season with $15 million earned. He signed a 4-year, $84 million deal with the 49ers in 2023. He was released after 2 years there, $40 million earned. Now he gets $23 million for 2 with the Packers. Will he see the full 23? That's going to be the big question. Now, immediately, tweets started firing out. Let's talk about what he does well here. PFF says the Packers are signing defensive tackle Javon Hargrave to a 2-year, $23 million deal. 4th best tackling grade among interior defensive line in 2025. Is that good? I don't know. You tell me. So, again, what does Devonte Wyatt do bad? He's not a good run defender. He's a good to very good pass rusher, but not a good run. Now you're going to couple in a good run defender alongside him who has elite pass rushing ability in the past. Can we rekindle some of that? Rejoining here with Jonathan Gannon. All right, Next Gen Stats fired a tweet out as soon as the signing took place. Javon Hargrave has generated the 2nd highest quick pressure rate among defensive tackles since the start of the 2023 season, minimum 500 pass rushes. Hargrave has ranked in the top 5 in the category in the category in the last 2 full seasons. In his last two full seasons, 23 and 25. So let's fire back up. 4th best tackling grade. Check the box in the run game. And then you go down here to this Next Gen stat. And again, he's ranked in the top 5 in the category the last 2 full seasons in 23 and 25. And that is 2nd highest quick pressure rate amongst defensive tackles. He can get after the quarterback. Again, how much gas has he got in the tank? That's going to be the big question. Is age going to catch up with him this year? Regardless, you can get out after 1 year. This is a perfect plug and play. Think about this, guys. You were not planning on re-signing Colby Wooden. It's obvious Goody did not have him in the plans as the future nose tackle. So what's Goody doing here? He's saying, all right, let's fire him out the door. Let's pick up Zaire Franklin, who is a little bit better than Quay right now, and you're going to get him for $7 million against the cap as opposed to Quay's number that ended up being something, 13 to 15 to 17 million, whatever it's going to come out to per year. So you save money there. You improve the position. With the Colby Wooden, getting rid of him, now you upgrade the position alongside Devonte Wyatt. It's going to cost a little bit of money, right? 15 million, 13 million, whatever it's going to be against the cap. We'll see how the allocation falls into place as we get a little deeper into the process here. Something else Rob Domofsky tweeted out. More numbers on Hargrave in 21 through 22, 33 games under Packers defensive coordinator Jonathan Gannon in Philly. Hargrave's 18.5 sacks while lined up at D tackle were the 2nd most in the NFL among defensive tackles. Cam Hayward had 19.5. In 3 seasons, 35 total games since, Hargrave has 11.5 sacks, including 3.5 last season. Now, there's 2 ways you could look at that. He's tapering off. He's no longer, he's not the player he once was. Or is Jonathan Gannon going to kind of rekindle that and bring that player back out of him for 1 or 2 years? That's going to be the big question, right? So I'm really liking how this is shaping up. You're seeing some of the numbers. You're seeing the positive on the run defense side. You're seeing the positive on the pass rush side as well. Let's talk about the PFF grades over the course of his career. His rookie year starting in 2016, 63.7. He jumps to a 74.3, 80.6, 83.4. In 2020, he takes a dip back to 61, then 67, then 80 once again in 2022, fell back to a 74, then a 60, back up to a 68 last year. Here's what's absolutely awesome. If he grades out just like he did last year as a 68, he's hands down our best defensive tackle. Devonte Wyatt graded out a 52.6, pass rush grade 71.4, solid. The pressures were there, right? We talked about that. The run defense is where he struggled. So you're going to get a little more stability alongside Devonte Wyatt with Javon Hargrave in this signing. So again, you've got a ceiling of 83.4 and a floor of 61 or a 60.6 from 2024, where, by the way, there wasn't a minimum amount of stats to include him in the defensive tackle rankings there according to PFF. So just keep that in mind. His pass rush grade last year is 70. Run defense grade was only 57.3. Not worried about it because PFF tweeted out the run stops, right? That's something that was a pretty solid statistic there. So it's really interesting to see this all kind of fall into place, especially the fact that Goody is patching it up like basically 1 year. Zaire Franklin you can get out of with no cap penalty next year. Javon Hargrave, you're probably going to be able to cut bait with minimal damage against the cap if you decide to just move on after 1 year. So what if he goes out and grabs Lee Hunter at defensive tackle and mold him behind Javon Hargrave? And then next year, if you want to keep Hargrave, great. The cap number isn't astronomical. You could probably tack on a couple voidable years, make it a little more palatable. And then you've got someone like Lee Hunter ready to step in. Right. These are the things. These are all the options that are on the table. I like what Goody's patching together here late in the game. Let's talk about next-gen stats, GPS tracking. He was 38th in run stops last year, okay? So his run stop total here tallied up at 32, okay? That was ahead of Josh Hines-Allen. I'm trying to think. There's a Tadaro Slayton. Let's see who else we got in here. I'm trying to think if there's any defensive tackles, because here's the other thing, guys. When you see the 38th here, this is all defensive linemen. This includes edge defenders as well. So you got to really take 32 times 4 to tally up starting caliber. The fact that he is darn near in the top 32, including both edge positions and both defensive tackle positions, tell you he's a high-quality starting defensive tackle when it comes to run stops. He was 37th in quarterback pressure percentage. Same thing applies here with the defensive line, okay? This includes edge rushers as well. When you remove the minimal guys, Hargrave falls into the 37 spot with a 9.8% pressure percentage. Solid numbers there. Again, we talked about the pressure percentage numbers from the interior defensive line last year. Not that good. Not that good at all. Colby Wooden's pressure percentage was down. It was his run stops that was significant, right? Well, the fact that you're basically improving the pass rush at the nose tackle position while also getting a guy who had 30, however many run stops, what was it, 32? Yeah, 32 run stops. Just a more balanced approach, a more balanced player. And most importantly, in my opinion, is you are adding veteran leadership. You're adding a guy who's been there. You're adding a guy who's going to be able to coach up the rest of the interior defensive line. Warren Brinson, Nazir Stackhouse. If they decide to kick LVM from time to time, inside from time to time. Same thing with Baron Sorrell. Whatever they're looking to do on the interior when they're in their sub package as opposed to their 34 base, which is going to be a multiple front. You'll see some 4-3 under. You'll see some 4-3 over. You'll see some 34 jam. Everything's on the table with Jonathan Gannon's defense. So Javon Hargrave is going to be able to provide insight. He's going to be able to be a coach on the field for Jonathan Gannon's defense when it comes to these young defensive tackles. Just love everything about this all the way around. We were going to get into the scouting report just again with the size and where he's been. Javon Hargrave, defensive tackle, 3-tech interior pass rusher. He's ideally a 3-tech. Okay. Now, can you play him at nose? Absolutely, you can play him at nose. Is he going to be a 3-down player? Most likely. We'll see. Maybe Devonte Wyatt's the guy that's going to rotate out. Maybe they want to kick Carl Brooks into the nose and get both of those guys a breather in Javon Hargrave and Devonte Wyatt and rotate those guys in and out, on and off the field, right? Because you got Devonte Wyatt, $12 million against the cap with the 5th-year option. Now you got Javon Hargrave probably going to be somewhere between $13 to $15 million there. So he's 6'2", 305. Went to college with the South Carolina State Bulldogs. How about that? Drafted in the 3rd round. Previous teams where he was with Pittsburgh from 2016 to 2019, jumped over to Philly from 2020 to 2022, went out to the 49ers from 23 and 24 with the Vikings last year, and now with your Green Bay Packers. He played his best football under Jonathan Gannon in Philly. Really excited to see if they can rekindle that flame. If you guys are watching this video back later, let me know in the comments, how do you feel about the Javon Hargrave signing? Do you think it's a home run? Do you think it's a meh? Do you like it for the money? Defensive tackles are expensive, man. You're essentially getting him for darn near the same price as you're getting Devonte Wyatt. I think he's a more well-rounded player. And do you think for a second that Javon Hargrave could help Devonte Wyatt with his run defense? Think about that, too. Really exciting. Let me know in the comments how you feel. Hit that like button, hit subscribe, click the bell icon. We appreciate you guys tuning in here with us on PTA.